Good afternoon. My name is Adam Henry, and I'm a business development manager at Arlington Economic Development. Thank you for attending AED's final webinar of its virtual series on the future of Arlington's neighborhoods and economy. Since the announcement of Amazon's decision to locate its HQ2 headquarters in National Landing, the neighborhood has been launched into the national spotlight and continues its momentum to become one of the most connected urban centers in the United States. This webinar will focus on National Landing with our esteemed panel discussing topics on placemaking, innovation, and the major investments being made that are putting National Landing in the spotlight. As a note, this webinar is being recorded and will be distributed to the attendees after the webinar. If you have any questions for the panelists, please place them in the questions box within the GoToWebinar platform. We will reserve the final 5 to 10 minutes of the webinar for questions from the audience, and we'll be answering questions throughout the panel as well. I will now hand it over to the moderator for our webinar, Telly Tucker, Director of Arlington Economic Development. Telly?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Telly Tucker. I'm the Director of Economic Development for Arlington. And thank you all for joining us this afternoon. We've got an amazing group of panelists who I'll introduce one by one today. And they'll be joining us and giving you all the juice on everything National Landing. First panelist is Tracy Gabriel. She's the President and Executive Director of the National Landing Business Improvement District. We then have Brian Cotter, who's the Senior Vice President of Leasing for JBG Smith. We have Megan Wallace, Associate Director, Business Development for Virginia Tech. And we have Ken Biberaj, Managing Director of Savills North America. I think I've got everybody there. Hopefully you can see them all up on screen. And without further ado, we're going to jump right in to the meat of the questions. So let's start with the first question centered around the theme of Arlington's bold future, right? And we know that National Landing is a big part of Arlington's bold future. So I'd like to begin by having each of the panelists tell us a little bit about one project or initiative that they're most excited about for National Landing in the next, say, 5 to 10 years. And if I can, I'm going to start with Ken, if you would take us away.
Thanks for putting this together. Great to see fellow panelists today, and what a great topic and turnout. And congrats to you and the team at Arlington and National Landing for what an exciting time we exist in. One of the things that I'm most particularly excited about with everything happening in National Landing revolves around food and the streetscape. I think whenever you look at these larger communities and the ecosystems being created, sometimes retail and the ecosystem on the street is overlooked. I think one of the exciting things about Amazon is they're not building these massive cafeterias and services meant to keep their employees inside their buildings. They're meant to push their people out. And I think that is going to really be a catalyst for an ecosystem on the street that's going to be vibrant and really contribute to the holistic benefits of the region itself. So I'm really excited about that.
Thanks, Ken. I know I'm really excited about the food, and I'm hoping that maybe there can be a little fam tour to sample some of that food once it's safe to do so. Let's talk to Brian real quick and get his perspective on Arlington's future.
Yeah, thanks, Telly. Hard not to be excited about the new retail and food, so couldn't agree more with Ken on that one. And for those of you that haven't been down to the neighborhood in the last year or so, would encourage you to do so, because our first phase of 110,000 square feet of street-facing retail between 15th Street and 18th Street on Crystal Drive has delivered shell boxes. And so hopefully some of those great food users will be open sometime in 2021. But as I look past kind of the streetscape, also just super excited about the IT infrastructure that we're investing in the neighborhood here, and the team working on our digital placemaking strategy and smart city plan. Some of you may know we won the CBRS Spectrum auction, which was auctioned by the FCC, and so that really creates the backbone for us to create truly ubiquitous 5G connectivity through the neighborhood. And a place that can be a living lab and really foster innovation moving forward. So while we won't be able to see it, we'll all be able to experience it on our phones and smart devices walking around, and couldn't be more excited about the smart city infrastructure.
Brian, that's really exciting. I've only, I guess I've only can dream about what that means from a technology standpoint, incorporating a continuous 5G spectrum there. So thanks for sharing that. And I have to get Tracy's perspective as the awesome partner that the National Landing bid is to Arlington County, and I know she's got a bunch of weight on her shoulders by trying to convene all interests, all things National Landing, and making it all gel. So Tracy, give us your perspective.
I'm also excited about food and all of our tech infrastructure, but the other piece that's so essential and illustrative of Arlington's bold future is transportation. And so the project I'm most excited about is the CC to DCA Intermodal Connector. This was a piece of transportation infrastructure that the bid championed, and it will be a bridge from our main street, that's Crystal Drive, and a new VRE station to National Airport, connecting it with a 5-minute iconic, comfortable walk, which will truly differentiate our downtown as being one of the only urban centers in the country to be conveniently located in a short walking distance to an airport.
Thank you, Tracy. And of course, I want to offer Megan an opportunity to weigh in too on Arlington's bold future. Anything you'd like to add, Megan?
Yeah, last but not least, as you can imagine, I'm very excited to have the Innovation Campus as part of the tech ecosystem, which will encompass all of the great infrastructure, and the food and transportation will be key to that as well. So really looking forward to having our Hokey Bird and some Hokey Stone in that space.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. I'm going to go back to Tracy here. Tracy, the neighborhoods that make up National Landing have, they've undergone an incredible revitalization over the last decade. The new neighborhood motto is City Life Reimagined. Can you explain that vision, and what's the role of the Business Improvement District going forward and keeping the momentum going once the pandemic lifts?
So City Life Reimagined really illustrates how we're reinventing the area. It speaks to a balance of uses, growing urban amenities, new and exciting signature park spaces, and great transportation access. It's that kind of easy urban that makes it livable and highly commutable. It's being a full service community, that 20-minute community where you can walk and get all the things that you need and want, and can take multiple modes of transportation, and just really an exciting place that's really future forward in its mindset. And I think we're thinking about it as we reinvent our legacy infrastructure into exciting placemaking and a reinvigorated streetscape and a new identity for the area. And in terms of the bid, I mean, we're really focused on placemaking, on unifying the area, and in terms of how we keep the momentum going post-pandemic, and even as we move into recovery, we're really focused on how we can serve our small business community, keep it strong, focus on a back to work campaign so that we can, think about the future of office and getting people back out here in our area. And of course, our goal as storytellers in chief is to also elevate the area as the exciting and dynamic urban center that it is. And we would argue the most exciting one in the region. And then, of course, is the most connected downtown, soon to be the most connected downtown in the country. So we are, keeping an eye on how our submarket is really extraordinary in the changes that are taking place. And I'm excited for post-pandemic when we can get back to the community events and programming and the things that make our area so dynamic and interesting.
Thanks, Tracy. That quality of life is in that storytelling element is of a critical nature. And I love the buzz phrases like city life reimagined, and I think you called it easy urban. I can almost hear a commercial jingle if any of our artists out there write a song for you. Maybe we can create a cool commercial with a song that's unique to Landing or something in the future. I'm going to shift to Brian here. Brian, you represent the largest landlord in National Landing with nearly 6 million square feet of existing and more than 7 million square feet of future development. Can you speak to what JBG Smith is selling to the business community, and how are you going to tell that story?
Yeah, it's a great question, Telly. Well, it really starts with the fundamentals, right? And as Tracy touched on, no place in America is more connected than National Landing. Literally planes, trains, and automobiles is something we like to share, right? And so trains means, both Metro and VRE. VRE makes us a quick 1-hour train ride to Manassas or to Fredericksburg, and of course, our yellow and blue line connectivity via Metro make some of the great emerging neighborhoods of downtown DC, like U Street and Shaw, just a 20-minute Metro ride away. So train connectivity is great. Tracy touched on the pedestrian bridge to DCA. I mean, how cool to be able to literally walk to any destination in the country. And the 750-foot bridge is less than a New York City block between the avenues. So to contextualize that for a second, just unbelievably innovative and cool. And then, of course, so many of the region's leading roads collide here. And so access via car is also really easy to come and go. And all that, just across the river from our nation's capital and steps from the Pentagon, provide really incredible fundamentals. But to build on that with $10+ billion going to be invested in this community over the next decade or so, all of those things are just going to be completely amplified. And so whether that's the $4 billion+ in transportation infrastructure that will happen, the amazing catalyst for new innovative talent in Virginia Tech with everything that Megan's doing, the 700+ master's degrees they'll push out a year, creates an incredible pipeline for talent here. And then, of course, HQ2 and just the gravitas that Amazon brings to the neighborhood, as Ken mentioned, will create so much energy on the street as they don't, feed their people inside their campus. Their people like to be out occupying urban spaces. Just being a part of that is, so exciting and really the gist of the story that we tell.
Thanks, Brian. I'm still trying to wrap my head around $10 billion of investment over the next 5 or 10 years or so. That's just amazing and really exciting. And you gave a perfect segue to Megan in Virginia Tech. And Megan, you head up the business development for efforts for Virginia Tech Innovation Campus. What does that role entail exactly? And can you lay out maybe the time frame for the development of that innovation campus?
Sure, yes. I'm part of a team, Link License Launch, that's dedicated to supporting all aspects of corporate partnerships, from research collaborations to corporate giving to technology commercialization and startups. We're really a one-stop shop for industry from discovery to market. I'm an extension of the Virginia Tech Blacksburg team, and I work and live in Northern Virginia. Specifically, I'm involved in creating engagement opportunities for Virginia Tech and our industry partners to collaborate and ultimately create a place and a culture that will elevate the technology ecosystem here in Virginia, this region, and the nation. In terms of the timeline for the Innovation Campus, the first cohort of 79 students pursuing master's degrees in computer science and computer engineering launched in the fall of 2020. From here, we've definitely got an aggressive timeline to scale to 750 master's students and 125 PhD candidates annually by 2028. So in August of 2020, we were thrilled to welcome Dr. Lance Collins, our VP and Executive Director of the Innovation Campus. Lance joins us from Cornell University. He previously served as the Dean of the College of Engineering there, and he was just selected to join the National Academy of Engineering, which is the highest academic honor in the field. So we're really excited about that. And in addition to Lance, we have a new Chief Operating Officer, Dr. Ken Smith, and a new AVP for Student Services, Robin Jones. So Lance, Ken, and Robin are all working out of our new Innovation Campus headquarters in Potomac Yard. And this team leverages the expertise of our countless leaders across the university, and they'll help us to grow as we continue to scale the project. In terms of the physical building project, we remain on schedule with construction of our first 11-story, 300,000 square foot structure in this summer. Hopefully in person, we'll have a groundbreaking and we'll be open to students in 2024. So the campus plans call for us to build 2 additional buildings, and that will happen as the campus continues to grow.
Thanks, Megan. We're delighted to welcome Dr. Collins and to hear that update from you. I'm really excited about that groundbreaking. I've seen some of the conceptuals, and we all know that that Virginia Tech Innovation Campus is going to be amazing. So thanks for sharing that update with us. The next question, Ken, is for you. You work with a diverse set of clients in your role at Savills. Can you talk about maybe what draws your clients' attention to National Landing in the neighborhood? And, how do you see that stacking up with other neighborhoods in the region or even around the country for that matter?
Sure. Well, at Savills, we exclusively focus domestically here in the United States on representing tenants and occupiers. So we don't represent landlords. So we're really laser focused on what's in the best interest of tenants. What are they looking for? And just to echo everything that's been said today, everyone's focused right now on what post-pandemic life is going to look like. How many people in their workforce are going to want to come back? How do you create an ecosystem that is going to encourage, excite people about coming back? So much of this is about taking tenants through a conversation about wellness, quality of life, making sure there's confidence and excitement about coming back. And you can't really explore this region without thinking about National Landing and about thinking about the quality of life, what's being done from the physical infrastructure. I think people are going to be blown away when they physically go and see Richmond Highway coming down and the park space and the greenery, things that you never associated with that part of Northern Virginia, right? We all have these memories of, kind of big government buildings, and that's not what's there now. So I think one of the benefits and silver linings over the last year is going to be the kind of eye-opening approach people are going to have coming back. But thinking about all of these softer things that are going to excite your folks to come back, this has to be a place we look at, number one. Number two, we're trying to be proactive about this. We have offices in Seattle and San Francisco and New York. We're talking to our colleagues. We're telling the story. Amazon's coming here, but one of the unique things here in this submarket versus in Seattle, there's still a lot of room. Brian and his team have a lot of space, and they're looking to create an ecosystem that's going to drive more companies coming in. So being able to have that proximity to the talent at Amazon, the average employee, I think, is at Amazon for 18 months. They're not tied to the goodies in the building, so they're poachable, right? So you can locate there and try to steal some of that talent if you're a influential company. Also, the ecosystem itself is going to create new enterprises, and I don't think that gets enough attention. How many employees leave Amazon, start their own ventures, right? There's going to be a stickiness about this area that I don't think we really talk enough about, right? How many folks are going to be recruited from tech and from Mason? How many are going to take advantage of the geography? They're going to buy homes here because of the quality of life, the proximity to DC, centrally located between the district, as well as Herndon and Reston and some of these other submarkets, where we're smack dab in the middle here. So, we're very bullish on it, so much so that we're not just being reactive as colleagues around the country call us about the area. We're being proactive about what companies should be looking here. And the last thing I'll say is the business-friendly nature of the area, right? I mean, if you take a step back and look at when this deal was signed, we had community leaders, Amazon, government leaders. This was a collaboration with everybody in the area, right? This wasn't a hostile kind of a situation as was seen in other jurisdictions that maybe were competing for this. So at a time where companies are stepping back and thinking about the future of their workforce, where do they want to grow? Is it Nashville? Is it Austin? Is it Miami? Northern Virginia is right there in that conversation, rightfully so. And I think the business-friendly climate is a reason why, and a testament to the people on this call for making it so.
And would you say that enough people know about the national landing story?
I don't think so, right? And one thing I'll say is the area is a little confusing, right? Even me as somebody in real estate, if Brian gave me a piece of paper and said point every building that Amazon's going in, it'd take me a few minutes, right? So I think this warrants everyone doing their part. So even us as tenant brokers, we can't just rely on the tenants we have in this market who are looking to grow. We're proactively going out there and talking to other markets and letting our leaders in those markets tell that story as well. Because if they're going to properly service their clients and they want to think about their own growth and attracting talent, they should be armed with the information that we're getting from the amazing team at JBG, from Telly, your team there, and Tracy from your folks, and obviously what's happening in Virginia Tech. We all need to be constantly talking and sharing the story. And I think this is something we should all be talking more about. And I would love for our government leaders to be talking a lot more aggressively about this. I think they should be on TV every single day talking about why they should be coming here instead of, you know how cold it is in Austin, Telly? It's warm here. Who wants to go to Austin? It's so cold. Come to Virginia. The water's warm.
Oh, that's good stuff. So, and I hear you loud and clear. I know in Arlington Economic Development, and I'm sure Tracy the same thing with the national landing bid, we're all committing to telling that story. And it sounds like everybody who's in the viewing audience today, and even those who'll see this recorded later, there's a part for you to play in helping share that national landing story. So thanks for that, Ken, that call to action. I want to move on to a slightly different topic, but I think it's one that's really the meat of some of the excitement around National Landing, and that's this future as an innovation district, right? And like, what does that entail? Let me start with Megan here. Megan, in the overall landscape of National Landing, how does Virginia Tech envision its role in the future of the neighborhood as a nationally recognized urban center for innovation? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So one of the unique elements of an innovation campus, as opposed to just our traditional graduate academic campus, is that it serves as a catalyst for ideas and knowledge both inside and outside of its walls. We're not just encouraging our students to be innovative, but we're really looking for business and community partners that share in the vision with us and want to contribute to solving society's greatest challenges. One of the most exciting elements of being a national landing and really the greater DC region for us is the diversity that we have here, and we intend to leverage that. We're really excited to be a part of this community and a part of the diversity that's in the area. And then we'll be the southern anchor, if you will, to the broader National Landing Innovation District if you look at the landscape.
Great, thank you, Megan. I'm gonna swing back to Ken for a sec here. Ken, what sort of tenants do you envision being good fits in this environment? And of course, I assume you have startups, but this sort of environment must be appealing to large corporate users as well. How much does cohesion play a role in the real estate decision for your clients?
Yeah, I think cohesion is exactly the right word, right? We're looking at, especially for these established companies, you know, one of the biggest deals last year, Microsoft coming to Arlington, right? Like they're looking for an ecosystem that really ties all of this together, is going to have the talent, the quality of life, the right environment related to like food and hospitality. All of that matters, right? Like it's a funny thing for me as an office broker to start this conversation today with like, I'm excited about food, right? And the reason I said that is because when you go walk around with tenants, they're thinking about the next 10 years. They're going to be there. Where are their people going to eat? Where are they going to have meetings? What are they going to be doing? So this is something that's going to, I think, allow for the startups, the companies we've never even heard of that are going to be created by people who are going to work at Amazon or elsewhere, and then they're going to pop out, or they're going to come out of Virginia Tech, as well as the Microsofts and all the big companies around the country. This is where they need to be. Post-COVID, it's going to be about going to the talent, right? I mean, it's going to be really making sure you have a hub in an area where you're going to be able to get all of these qualified people who have experience and understanding in how government works, how the private sector works. I think it's going to be incredibly attractive for nonprofits and advocacy groups out of DC that are potentially going to find opportunity because we have some space, because you have a landlord like ABG that's going to work with you. This reminds me so much of kind of Preston Town Center with Boston Properties. Having one landlord is an advantage at times, right? Because it'll allow you to work with that landlord to grow within a portfolio, right? It's not like just one landlord in one-off building, right? You can call Brian if you double in size because you have a new a grant from an agency, or if you're recruiting people, or you have some VC dollars coming in because more VC attention is focused on this region. That's all going to allow for it. I think the other aspect of the talent side isn't just the curriculum. field, it's the diversity of talent, right? Like this region is one of the most diverse regions in the country. So being able to ensure that you're going to have a diverse workforce, that's as important as the degrees, in my opinion, because it's going to be about the hard skills moving forward, as well as the soft skills, and really putting pressure on companies to pay attention to talent that may not have that kind of check the box because they went to X, Y, and Z. So they're going to be able to take advantage of, you know, what tech is doing to get certificates and other programs, as well as Mason and Marymount. This is just that kind of central corridor where everyone seems to be doubling down, and it's going to be attractive for all types of businesses, nonprofits to startups to corporates. So, in my opinion.
That's really interesting to hear you talk about that, Ken. And I do think very strength and diversity. So I think your point is well made there.
Yeah.
Brian, I want to ask you, you touched on this a little bit in your opening response. JBG Smith has been making substantial investments in technology infrastructure in National Landing. In addition to the real estate investments, retail, placemaking, et cetera. Looking through that same lens, how does JBG Smith view its role in helping create this new Center for Innovation, or this innovation district?
Yeah. Well, Telly, scale creates an unbelievable opportunity to, you know, maybe invest in things that you wouldn't invest in as a one-off owner of one building in one neighborhood, you know, anywhere in the country. So the fact that we control 6 million square feet of operating office plus, you know, another 7+ million square feet of development allows us to maybe do retail that as a one-off might not make sense as an investment opportunity, but it changes the dynamic on the street. It allows you to do something like buy CBRS spectrum at auction and offer ubiquitous 5G connectivity, not only in the street, but in the buildings by investing in DAS technology. So when you're on a Zoom call, when we're all back in the office, nothing's dropping as you pull into the garage and hop in the elevator and go up to your space. It also allows us to work with groups like HANA, who has just opened a new flex office space at 2451 Crystal Drive on a new lease with us to create real flexible office space in the portfolio. One of the things that we're focused on today, and to Ken's point, to try to attract some of these innovators into the neighborhood, is creating a supply chain of space inside that 6 million square feet that allows you to grow on a moment's notice to meet changing needs of a business. And I think that's applicable whether you're a startup with just a handful of people looking for space that you could plug into and literally turn your business on tomorrow, or you're a defense contractor or somebody else in the cybersecurity space who needs to find 30 seats for a contract that just landed on your desk or procurement that you're chasing. And so this scale creates a really unique opportunity for us to do things that, as I mentioned before, maybe don't make sense on a standalone basis, but you invest in that rising tide to really see the neighborhood lift in total.
You had me sold when you told me to get on the elevator and not lose my signal. So, but no, in all seriousness, we do hear from clients that we entertain in economic development too, that, you know, speed to the market is critical, and having spaces ready that meet their needs as they grow. I think that's a critical competitive advantage that the market will offer. Tracy, let me come back to you. Your bid's integral in supporting the effort of all of these folks: Savills, JBG Smith, the Virginia Tech Innovation Campus, as well as dozens of other property owners, thousands of residents, small businesses as well, other stakeholders. How is the bid working to pull everyone, this eclectic mix of interests, all together in a singular effort to create an urban innovation district?
Thanks, Telly. I look forward to answering that question, but I also want to respond to some of the comments I've heard so far. Especially, Ken, you were talking about the ecosystem that you can create for tech. And one of the things that's really interesting is that while Virginia Tech and Amazon have been huge market validators for our area and also accelerators for us, it's not our starting point. We have already had an ecosystem of tech here. Over half of the population of employees here have backgrounds in STEM, and are more than half of our actual square footage of office is engaged in STEM activities. So this is a building on a base that's really strong for our area. And so I get excited when you also compare us to Miami and Austin, all these other places, because we are that scale, which I think is really exciting as we think about elevating the national profile. But going back to how do we bring it all together? I think with the tremendous amount of investment that is going into the area, there's an opportunity to shape that to be more inclusive, more competitive, and more compelling in terms of an experience on the ground. And I know for us, as the bid, as an organization, we only expanded about a year and a half ago. And the premise of the expansion to include all 3 neighborhoods was about unifying the area as one singular downtown. And as we're talking about today, an urban innovation district, and just really a great place to live, work, or visit. And from that vantage point, we are focused on unification in terms of how we talk about the submarket, bringing this together, bring all facets together, and also on the actual physical connectivity side. So a lot of our work and a lot of the work of our stakeholders is about creating that sense of place, the human scale, turning our legacy infrastructure into human scaled infrastructure, pedestrian orientation, enlivened streetscapes. These are the things that are going to bridge the district. And taking a broader view of what an urban innovation district is, certainly we've heard a lot about how important the fundamentals of the tech infrastructure is. But we would take the comprehensive view at the bid to say there's so many other facets that we also have to think about in tandem. And whether that's thinking about transportation, about parks, about great retail, about affordable housing, all of this to create that complete neighborhood and apply that intelligent design thinking to all facets of our district. And that's one of the things we're trying to elevate. And I think that's an exciting story for National Landing, is that you're seeing commensurate investments across a broad range of areas, both private and public, whether it be in the form of new businesses or new buildings. It's the collective that will make that place that employees want to work and employers will see the benefit of investing in.
I love how you speak about the comprehensive or the complete neighborhood. It's not, very rarely do you have an opportunity to go into a community that can check all of those boxes that you mentioned. And I think that's really exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing that become a reality even more than it is today. And I know that that's going to be a true differentiator for us in marketing all of Arlington, certainly National Landing. We've heard a little bit earlier about investment, right? Throwing around some big numbers. And I think a lot of people probably want to know a little bit more about that. Where do they stand as far as these investments? So let me start off with Brian, if I may. Can you talk about JBG Smith's substantial investments? You've touched on a little bit about the 5G already. Maybe tell a little bit more about what do they mean for existing and prospective businesses, and what makes these investments unique as compared to, say, other innovation districts elsewhere in the United States?
Yeah, great question, Telly. I'm not aware of anywhere in the country that has ubiquitous 5G connectivity throughout a whole neighborhood. And we talked a little bit about scale before, and given how much of the land area we control, and with our robust development plans, we have the opportunity to create the pathways for additional fiber and other pieces of infrastructure that someone, again, who maybe owned a one-off building couldn't do. And you couple that with CBRS spectrum, and we'll likely partner with a great telecom provider to light that up and provide it to people in the neighborhood. What that'll mean is that, like I mentioned before, anywhere you go, you'll have access to 5G technology. And so whether that helps somebody in the transportation space innovate on a sensor technology that goes with a package to make sure it's the right temperature or meets some other sort of standard, or allows retailers to offer a really differentiated experience, maybe a touchless experience, because the whole neighborhood is lit up with 5G and everyone is constantly connected. You know, the canvas that creates for innovators to really do what they do is incredible. And then you couple that with the fact that, you know, we're less than 30 miles from May East, where the vast majority of the world's internet traffic flows through. And the ability here to perhaps create data centers with redundant capabilities connected so close to May East just speeds up all that connectivity and really creates a unique environment for people to innovate here.
Man, that's exciting. I love, you know, I've heard interest already, you know, people thinking about test beds for new technology, for emerging technologies being developed right here, and things that the 5G investment enables them to do that they wouldn't be able to do elsewhere. I love the thought of Arlington being able to be a leader in that, and National Landing being at the forefront. So that's really exciting. I'm gonna pivot back to Tracy really quickly. Tracy, the National Landing bid has been a major advocate for the airport pedestrian bridge. I've seen some images, and then there have been other transformative investments too, totaling I think somewhere around $4 billion, matching another $8 billion in private investment. Is there anything you can share with us as an update on those major investments, CCVRE, pedestrian bridge, metro, et cetera? Any mobility reporting? So,
Sure. Thanks, Telly. So kind of a broken record here on how important transportation is to our area, and we have such a great story to tell. So at the bid, we've been focused on really championing our big infrastructure moves for the area, especially in the realm of transportation. And so we're really excited that we have that $4 billion to report, and we put out a recent report called Mobility Next. And that talks about the comprehensive picture of all those projects and what they will deliver for the area, which is next generation mobility and the most connected downtown in the country. And I think this is particularly exciting because most jurisdictions are, turning their backs, if not their wallets, on transportation and transit. And here in Northern Virginia and Arlington in particular, we're seeing a tremendous investment that's going to radically change our ability to be resilient in this environment and be a place and have the infrastructure for innovation. And of course, I would say it's really the work of the county, the Commonwealth, and VTA and others that believe in transportation and making this vision a reality. So I just want to note that within the context of the projects that we have coming straight to National Landing, we have both big infrastructure projects that radically transform the regional transportation network, like Long Bridge, and the possibility that opens for a one-seat commuter ride from Maryland to Virginia, the potential for a future Amtrak stop right in National Landing. So very exciting critical infrastructure projects, as well as human scale mobility projects. So the kind that will create the on-the-ground connective tissue and sense of place, like a reimagined Route 1. So it's very exciting. And in terms of the status of those projects, all of those projects, there's 8 major projects that we highlight, from metro stations to rail projects, and all of those within the next 10 years will be completed. Really, in the next several years, some of them will all substantially be complete. But in terms of what we can look forward to on the immediate horizon in terms of completion, by 2023, the Crystal City Metro entrance will be complete. The Potomac Yard Metro station will be complete. We'll have an extension of our transit way. And of course, Project Journey will also be complete by then. So these are just, we're really days away from on the ground transformation. And I would encourage folks to check out the report that's in the chat, it looks like, but it gives you a full sense of the timeline and the scale and the impact. But it is like I said, a true differentiator. We know that the most desired talent is, puts a premium on having transportation choice. And so therefore it's important to employers. And I think that National Landing will be able to deliver really an untold amount of transportation choice to our region.
Thank you, Tracy. And, for all of our viewers, that if you need some ammunition, I would definitely encourage you to read that Mobility Next report that I think has been dropped in the chat. Make sure you access that and share it with others so that everybody can be updated on the long-term plan there. I'm going to pivot back to Megan here. Megan, Virginia Tech, $1 billion investment. That's a big number. And that includes the Virginia Tech Talent Initiative. And how will the university actively engage the surrounding neighborhood and businesses to activate that new campus?
Yeah, so it is a lot of money, and we're excited to be able to utilize it to build the Innovation Campus. And under the leadership of President Sands, we see the Innovation Campus as a modern evolution of what the land-grant university really is. The need for tech talent in Virginia and the region is far bigger than any one institution, but we see it as our mission to really play a leading role in helping to address this challenge. To make sure we're correctly addressing the challenges of industry, we've assembled an all-star advisory board of global business and industry leaders to help us with that strategic direction. The Innovation Advisory Board includes top executives from Qualcomm, Boeing, KPMG, Northrop Grumman, the Carlyle Group, and Hutch Analytics, along with several other tech pioneers. Another unique element and key collaboration opportunity with business and industry is around our project-based learning. From the start, we've said that project-based learning will be a core tenet of the student experience and that corporate partners will be involved in shaping those projects and working hand in hand with our faculty and our students. So we're actively seeking input from companies, government agencies, nonprofits, and startups to really ensure that we're building something truly distinctive. And in my role, I love getting to have those conversations and sit in those brainstorming sessions and get that input as we're working with those key partners, because partnership with industry and our government agencies and the local community are really critical to our campus, and we want to embed our students with these industry partners and stakeholders from day one. We're also partnering with Alexandria City Public Schools to enhance science, technology, engineering, and math opportunities for students and really create those potential pathways to higher education, because we know to grow the tech talent pipeline, we have to have an incoming influx of those students. So we have to start early, extremely early in the process to keep them in that pipeline all the way through to build out the talent that we need here. And then we hope, we're working with ACPS currently and hope to scale some of our existing pilot projects with other partners and other school districts around the region.
Thanks, Megan, for sharing some of the companies that you all are working with and currently collaborating with. We often hear in economic development that the best learning is that project-based learning, or it's like on-the-job experience. The learning is so much richer, and if it's in an applied environment or setting, then I think it makes for a much better employee long-term, which I know, there's lots of conversations going around about workforce and making sure we provide the most talented workforce for our existing businesses and for those businesses we hope to attract to the region. So thanks for sharing that, and we really appreciate Virginia Tech's commitment to that project-based learning. I'm going to ask Ken one more question, and then I think we're going to have some time for questions from our viewers. But before we go there, Ken, can you talk about how these unique strategic investments that we've heard about, how do they compare to other major markets in the United States from your perspective? And I've got to imagine that National Landing is one of the few neighborhoods seeing this level of reinvestment, reinvention from a national perspective. Can you share your thoughts on this?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. One, I don't know anywhere else in the country where you have this type of investment so concentrated, right? Going back to the original video you put on at the beginning that Tracy and her team put together. I mean, pocket of national landing is 12 million square feet, right? Like Austin is 11 million square feet, right? Like, so we're talking about these types of dollars concentrated and coordinated together in one area, right? So I think the coordination and collaboration of how the resources are being used is really important to kind of understand. It's not one-off projects, people acting independently. This is a holistic, curated ecosystem being done in partnership with private sector, nonprofits, government, collectively to maximize the impact that this is going to have and the ability to recruit, retain, and grow the economy across the Commonwealth. When we represent tenants, you go to a building, you find the right spot, you start negotiation, you ask for tenant improvement dollars, right? You want to fix your space, you want improvement, tenant improvement dollars at an all-time high, just for the viewing audience in case anyone's interested. And what we look at now is it's not just about the tenant improvement dollars in the building, it's about the improvement dollars along the street, along the submarket. And there's nowhere that you could compare that amount of investment is being made as it is here in National Landing, right? So that's part of the story that needs to be told. And it's not just, obviously with this incredible infrastructure, right? The one thing to note is it's not just cosmetic, right? It's not like fixing up switches in a subway, in some municipalities where like the subways are just so outdated, they're 100 years old and you need to fix switches. We're talking about a bridge to the airport, right? We're talking about things that are just, for the decades to come. They're investments for growth, not meant to meet demand today and in a cosmetic way. I mean, we're planning for the future. And I think that's just going to enhance and create even more of an attractive desire for companies to want to be here. But I think all of that coupled with the softer things like investments in affordable housing, ensuring the workforce has a place to live, they have schools to go to, they can afford and go to the supermarkets and the retail, right? It's a place for everyone. I think it's really going to be part of the softer, important side of the story we tell. This isn't going to be some place that, only if you make a certain amount of money you can exist in. This is going to be a place really for everyone, which is really important and exciting to tell.
Yeah, I love the fact that you mentioned the fact that they're affordable housing is a part of the plan too, right? I think that speaks to that comprehensive neighborhood that we spoke about earlier. And I love the reaction that people give when you tell people, yeah, I can actually walk to the airport from my neighborhood. Like, that's unheard of. And so I think that's a really unique thing that people are going to have to see with their own eyes and experience with their own eyes to believe it. So really exciting. Look, I know we've got, looks like 12 minutes left, and I think some questions have come in that have been shared. So if it's okay with our technology folks here, maybe we pivot to some of the questions that have come in. And I think I've got one here. Maybe Tracy, we direct this one for you, but certainly if any other panelists have any input, they can certainly respond as well. There's a question about small business. How is small business being included in the planning and marketing of National Landing? Tracy, you want to take a shot at that?
Small businesses are the lifeblood of our district. I've said that many times. It's, from our, entrepreneurs inside office buildings to the small businesses that make up our brick and mortar experience on the street. So we've been looking to support them, obviously, during this difficult time. I think also a lot of our property owners have tried to elevate them and be flexible during this time. But I think one of the great stories is that we've weathered the storm better than a lot of central business districts. And you could see, we still have somewhat of a lively street experience here. However, there is a gap, and we've been working through the bid ourselves and obviously working with the county as well to provide additional supports. We are hopeful at the bid we'll be announcing another grant program marketing program to get through this period and on the other side of recovery. But I think small businesses are key. So everybody wants a amenity-rich neighborhood. And one of the things and much of that is realized through our small businesses. And so we are interested in supporting the existing businesses that are here today to be part of the exciting changes that are happening in the future. But we're also interested in growing our small business community. I think one of the things, and maybe Brian mentioned this, but even in JBG Smith's portfolio alone, there's still an anticipated pipeline of a tripling of retail space in the ground floor on Crystal Drive alone. That will open up a lot of opportunity to bring in new small businesses to meet the growing demands. As Terry mentioned too, we have a lived-in downtown and a growing residential sector. And the great thing for small businesses is to be able to benefit from a daytime population of office workers and a lived-in community that provides more around-the-clock opportunities and weekend liveliness. So I think that, in short, the small businesses are a huge part of our present and our future.
Yeah, no, that's great. I couldn't agree more. They truly are heartbeat of the community. I'm going to ask a question, and I'll open this up to any of the panelists who'd like to respond. One of our viewers has a question. Has there been a specific focus on workforce or workforce development and or social entrepreneurship focused on underserved or underrepresented populations? Would anybody like to take a shot at a response on that one?
I think this might be an opportunity around workforce development in terms of what the county is doing at large and working with all of our educational institutions, both at the secondary level all the way through college, and of course with Virginia Tech, to ensure that there's really inroads to the kind of employers that we're trying to attract to this area. So I think that, workforce development can happen really early on, as well as having a really strong STEM programs even at the high school level. And we know that many of our employers are investing in those as well. Even George Mason's programs have been also excellent as well. And I think in terms of social entrepreneurship, I think one thing we're thinking at the BID is that during this period of COVID, it's become very clear that there's a lot of need that can be met in creative ways by bridging the nonprofit sector and the private sector. And one of the things we've been doing is, right downstairs from me right now in our building is Hakal Help's second location, which is delivering food or providing food for hospitality workers who are experiencing a difficult time. But it's a partnership between a small business owner that's waiting to reopen and other folks that have come up with the social entrepreneur concept, and the BID is also supporting that effort. But we see that there's a lot more opportunity to fill that gap, and we're very excited about the Washington Housing Conservancy's investment in Crystal City at Crystal House, and their commitment to thinking about the kind of inclusive property management and the full breadth of the services that one would want to have to make sure that we're partnering with our nonprofit partners and we're having an impact in terms of making sure that everyone can share the benefits of growth and development.
And just to piggyback on that, for 1 second, Telly, I think it's important for viewers to understand that any of us on this panel don't operate in silos, right? It's really about us having a relationship with each other, collaborating, us as the brokers, if we have tenants interested in the area, calling Tracy, coordinating with Arlington Economic Development, letting you tell your part of the story so that they can hear it firsthand about not only the talent in the area, but about workforce programs, the investments being made. It's about all of us letting each other tell different parts of the story, I think, and that's what is so exciting about just the region and the collaboration happening in live time.
Yeah, and I wanted to take a second too. I think part of the answer around workforce, Megan highlighted on one of her previous responses around how Virginia Tech is working with Alexandria Public Schools, K-12 schools on STEM curriculums that lead to career pathways. I know some of those same conversations are happening within Arlington Public Schools as well. I think that's one demonstration of workforce development. And I want to take a second to talk about the Skill Up initiative that City of Alexandria and Arlington County are partnering on together. It speaks to what they call matrix learning, skilling up, helping maybe even displaced workers who've been displaced as a result of the pandemic upgrade their skills and connect them to new employment opportunities, and some work-based learning opportunities too that you're going to be hearing more about in the coming months. So really excited about that. I know that there's a focus on a lot of people thinking collectively, George Mason University as well, Northern Virginia Community College, they're all thinking about workforce development and how that plays a role in our continued trajectory and projected growth. So I just wanted to make mention of that really quickly. I think we might have time for one or two more questions. Let me get back here to our panel of questions that have come in. Let's see. Looks like we have one viewer is asking about how the international business community is reacting to National Landing. Do we have any feedback from maybe international interest, or have we done any marketing there? And maybe I'll maybe allow Brian and Tracy to tackle that one.
Yeah, happy to start off. We have seen interest from folks in the international community, and I think that there is a lot of buy-in to the story. It's in some ways it's almost easier if you zoom out and come from the outside looking in, right? To understand the magnitude of the whole story. And so, while I don't know that there's like a concrete example that I could point to or quote today, there are some exciting things happening in the international business community, and we've had we've had some good interest from folks internationally.
All right, Tracy, anything you want to add to that, or?
Just ultimately that our goal is to elevate National Landing not only as an exciting place within the region, but nationally and internationally as a place for business. And so I think we'll be continuing to move forward on that trajectory.
All right, I think I got time to squeeze one more question in. COVID, right? Coming out of COVID, we're starting to see increased vaccination. We're starting to see a downward trend, which is a positive trend in community transmission and number of people in hospitals. As we move out of COVID, how do you think the commercial and office markets are going to be affected from an occupancy standpoint? And this might be a question for Ken or for Brian. What do you all think? And we've got about 2 minutes.
I think folks are going to be really looking hard at term, thinking about 10-year leases, and does that what they need? Do they need more flexibility, whether that's to contract or to grow? So really having partners on the landlord side like JBG who understands that there's going to be a need for flexibility, building in some co-working and flex office solutions, more of a spec suite program where they're making those investments, allow companies to kind of like incubate, take a smaller space and then grow into it. I think terms are going to be something. Wellness is going to be a leading factor as people think about going back to the office. What are the a checklist, what's happening with the filters, what's the building doing, what's the area doing, X, Y, and Z. So, I think wellness and flexibility are going to be the two big drivers that people are going to want to address head on. That maybe a year ago weren't as important. We're talking about, but not really drivers. The last thing I'll mention is we often now almost across the board are seeing chief people officers as part of real estate conversations. And that's a very important thing. It's essential. If you're making real estate decisions, you should insist on having your chief people person at the table, because this is really going to be about making smart real estate decisions with dollars and make sure you get the maximum benefit for your employees.
I just add real quick, Telly, that I think that Tracy's team was profound in their City Life Reimagined tagline. And you think about what that might mean in a post-COVID world. And so while we're urban and 18-hour and all the great things that come with that, we're not super, super high density. And, in just Crystal City alone, 14 public parks that are great, are really well programmed with additional enhancements. So great access to outdoor space. Also in a post-COVID world, I think about, we control 13,000 parking spaces. So to the extent people are more comfortable driving, we have more than ample parking in the neighborhood as people kind of re-enter. And I think the big question is just the push-pull of, density. The amount of space people occupy per person probably goes up, but how does flexible work environment offset that?
Thank you both. Kudos to our all-star panel today. Everybody give them a hand. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate all the viewers. As we mentioned at the top of the hour, it has been recorded. So I think an email will be going out. Feel free to share it. You can certainly access it from Arlington Economic Development webpage. And I'll end with, just I'm kind of batting cleanup here. And so if you had any, if I had any premonitions that there were going to be cleaning guys in my background, like on the window, I don't know if anybody saw those, but this is one of the benefits of doing virtual stuff, right? So I had cleaning guys like swinging outside my window. I don't know if anybody caught that, but anyway, I think that's on that note, we'll clean up the conversation and wish everybody a productive rest of the week. And thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Telly.
Thanks.